If he kicks on for the amount of time you'd expect him to, and given how fit he is likely to, he'll probably pass Frankie Dettori's amount of Group or Grade 1 winners.
I don't think I actually give him enough credit on what I thought he'd done to what he actually does.
He very rarely makes mistakes, and if he does make a mistake, he knows he's made it.
Hello and welcome to Inside Track, the debate, brought to you by William Hill. And on this week's episode, we're going to be ranking the top 5 flat jockeys as of right now. So who are riding right now. My name is Kate Tracy, and joining me to rank these jockeys are Louis Stewart, William Hill ambassador Nick Luck, and James Millman. So lads, you've all got your whiteboards. The 5 jockeys I want you to rank are Ryan Moore, Oisin Murphy, William Buick, Rossa Ryan and Hollie Doyle. So pens at the ready, take it away. Right lads, still scribbling away there. But if you are ready, we're going to reveal, as Louis is making some extra little details onto his. Ready to reveal in 3, 2, 1. Oh, we've got a whole load of detailing here. Ryan Moore's got his own little bubble. Yeah. We've got ages, we've got a bracket, we've got a P.
It's a P, yeah.
It's a P.
Not from any organisation in particular.
No,
not it is a P to signal potential for improvement. Yeah.
Potential improvement then. Ryan Moore on top. Ryan Moore. Louis, who have you got as number 1?
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan. Okay, so we've all kick-started with Ryan. Better start with why is Ryan in his own little cloud?
Well, Ryan is in his own little cloud, isn't he? In every respect. He thinks differently to most people. He rides differently to most people. He's got the game by the gonads like most people have never had before. Just past 200 Group or Grade 1 winners, so he'll probably, if he kicks on for the amount of time you'd expect him to, and given how fit he is likely to, he'll probably pass Frankie Dettori's amount of Group or Grade 1 winners, so he'll have the most of all time. And he is, you've got to think about it like this. If you look at all the jockeys that have been stable jockey to Ballydoyle, widely considered to be the best job around, you've had Christy Roach, Mick Kinnan, Kieran Fallon, Johnny Murtagh. Joseph in the end, his weight got him, but Ryan Moore's the one that's made it work best. He's the one that's been able to get the best tune out of the trainer, personality-wise, and he is the one that has had the most relentless level of achievement and has made the most impact to those horses that he's been riding. Plus, being able to win on every stage in the world, doesn't matter what surface, where he is. Ever since he was riding winners at the Breeders' Cup in 2008, he's looked completely unfazed by international competition. He is a law unto himself, and he is in a league of his own in the context of this particular exercise.
If you could drop your mic, you would be dropping it right now on the back of that, because that was exactly the way to sum up Ryan Moore and everything that he has achieved. But I mean, what more, James, can we add to that? Because what is it, though, particularly why he has been the most successful Ballydoyle jockey then?
Mr. Consistent. And going back to the Ballydoyle theme, what I find interesting, the interviews of Aidan O'Brien is that Ryan Moore is now 40. Aidan thinks he's riding better than ever this year. And that just goes to show you that he's always trying to get better as such, even though 10 years ago, you could say he was the best in the world. And for me, if you've ever got one that's in a top class race and Ryan is available, you take him. He rode Master Carpenter for us once at Sandland and Heron Stakes, soft ground. The other 4 jockeys went wide around the bend towards the stand side. Ryan sat last, cut the corner, cut across, gained 6 lengths in a listed race on quite a big day's race in the Bridge Area evening. And that was just Ryan just thinking outside the box slightly, and it just showed you how good he is. And then you look at the Ballydoyle job, there's very few mistakes. You don't watch a Ryan Moore ride and say, oh, I wish he'd done this, I wish he'd done that. Generally, Ryan executes the tactics that they want to employ perfectly.
And even when he does face adversity in races, we saw it, well, I guess sort of most recently with Fairy Godmother at Ascot, when things aren't going his way, yet he still manages to overcome it with a whole load of confidence behind it as well. And when, as I say, that's probably for me, Louis, one of the attributes that Ryan Moore has that I would put above anything else, is the fact that when things maybe don't go right, which is quite rare for him, he still manages to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, I think from a jockey's point of view, it's very hard for some jockeys to adapt mid-race. maybe that's what makes him a little bit more astute than a lot of jockeys in the weighing room. It's having that confidence in your own ability to execute something that maybe is not going to plan at the start, but then when you get halfway through a race, you need to do something different in order to get out the best of your horse. So I think, I don't really know what more I can say other than what you two have said, but it's just the way he maintains that level of greatness. And I think if you'd done a poll in the weighing room and you said to everyone who would you look up to, it would be Ryan, because people recognise his presence in the weighing room. They respect him. In a race, he gets respect, but he's also very fair. I said a story as well on another one of these podcasts, my first ride at Newmarket, when I went in the stalls next to him and I asked him what he was doing, and he said, don't worry what I'm doing, just follow me. And it's something that sticks in my head, where his attention to detail to everyone around him is again so great. You know, he sees the race from every angle and every way possible on how he can win.
And you talk about him in the weighing room. What was he like as a character?
I always got on very well with Ryan. He's obviously very reserved when he comes out, but I think people have to realise that maybe he respects his own privacy and doesn't want to give too much away, and then that's fine. And in racing, we all want this role model to be the people's person and the face that Frankie was, but at the same time, you have to respect the person Ryan is, and he's never fake, which is what I like about Ryan. And he owns up to his mistakes and also owns up to the person he is, which is, you can't get more real than Ryan, can you?
So, James, we talk about the personalities in here and that Ryan is that more reserved type and maybe isn't sort of front and centre when the camera's rolling by any means. Now, we've got Oisin Murphy, who you've got second on your list. He is a complete contrast to that. So, by himself, and he's sort of more the modern jockey in terms of how good and open he is with the media.
Yeah, Ryan, now he's Hollie Doyle's number one. He doesn't need to promote himself. And for him, the media is a bit of a chore that he has to do and doesn't want to do.
He's got better. Well, in terms of promoting maybe the
Hollie Doyle would like him to be
the sire lines.
Talk freely about how good their stallions are going to be in the future.
Yeah, he's very good at talking about
but he doesn't particularly enjoy that side of it. And if you accept that, that's fine. That doesn't make him a good jockey. Oisin, one of the younger generation coming through, is obviously the opposite in giving plenty of time to the racing media and talking about what the horse has done, why it's done it, etc. But Ryan is also key if you deal him from an owner and trainer perspective. When Ryan Moore comes in the paddock, Ryan Moore is very chatty when he's dealing with the owners and the trainers and connections. So Ryan is not the same person, I think, in the media interviews as what he is to connections and behind the scenes.
And we're ranking these on a number of characteristics, but Nick, nowadays we talk about obviously their ability in the saddle, but nowadays what goes with that is kind of the media presence or the personality that transcends for sport, and we've got a whole host of different personalities on there.
Yeah, listen, we've all done this differently. We've all put Ryan Moore on top, but that's because whichever way you want to do this, whether it's pure talent in the saddle or adaptability or longevity, consistency, approach to the game, professionalism, he'll be at the top for all of those. So of course he has to be at the top. Impact value, I would say, as well. And really I've done this on a variety of different criteria, but I've just thrown a little bit of a curveball here by putting Hollie Doyle in very high on the basis of her impact value. And I think that's very important to the sport. And also, when we were jotting the ages down, I'd forgotten how young she still is and has achieved an enormous amount in an enormously short space of time. There are very few sports people in any sport that have shown the level of application that she has to get where she's got to. If I said determination, it would sound somewhat patronising. She applies herself in a way that very few people can in terms of raising the bar fitness-wise, not ever seeing something as impossible, refusing to accept the fact that an opportunity doesn't exist, and when the opportunity comes, then taking the most of it. And I think for all those reasons, she deserves a high place in our esteem, if that's the way you want to put it. I'm quite happy to sit here and say I think Ryan Moore is the best of these jockeys. the others, I think, all have different characteristics to bring to the table.
They're so different, aren't they? But that's why I've also got Hollie. I mean, I've got Hollie in third because I just think William Buick is, again, an unbelievable talent who just does not get things wrong. But Hollie Doyle, again, for me, we talk about impact and the first European Classic winner then for a female jockey that she was able to achieve on Nashua.
On that point,
amazing.
I think, I mean, while we're talking about Hollie Doyle, I'd say Tom Marquand did have a fair ride. Talking about jockeys currently riding to be going, excuse me.
I was going to
why am I
say
on this list?
He is the other one, isn't he, that you would be having, well, for me anyway, that when we were just not jotting these jockeys down, that we were given these 5 to note down, the also eligible for me is Tom Marquand there, obviously Hollie Doyle's husband, who would be on it. Because again, he just doesn't get anything wrong. So he would be the same for you, Nick. You're also eligible.
He's the obvious one that sprung to my mind, but I'm sure
jockeys.
there's Jamie Spencer for different reasons
Yes.
and all sorts of others. But yeah, probably.
Yeah, he would be that one. But again, we've sort of ranked Hollie on that basis of what else she's done for the sport. And of course, she's a fantastic rider. She's a formidable opponent.
And we're talking about GB-based jockeys at the moment. We're talking about British-based
Yes.
jockeys.
Yes.
Because obviously, again, you'd be getting
Certainly.
Colin Keane in the
Yeah.
mix.
The
and-
Tory as well, still
well,
riding.
I mean,
Yes,
he's out in a little cloud somewhere out there, isn't he? So-
in his own cloud, but a very different cloud, though, that we're talking about for him, though. But, I mean, William Buick, though, Louis, we've got to start with you about William Buick. Of course, you know him very, very well. And what I just said there about William Buick, I've got him as number 2 because Ryan, for me, is just, he's in a whole league of his own. But William just does not get anything wrong. I can't think even off the top of my head any single mistake there in recent years of any sort of note.
We'll see him.
I'm sure we could find a few. They've all done
We'll
something
dig them
wrong.
out. We'll dig them out somewhere.
Charlie Appleby would tell you a couple.
I'm sure he would. Seeing William firsthand on how he goes about being a professional jockey is exceptional. I don't think I actually give him enough credit on what I thought he done to what he actually does. Again, very much like Ryan, his dedication is so key. And I think where William is great is on the big days, he just can produce. We can talk about Oisin saying he can go to Windsor on a Monday night and ride a treble. He can go to France on Sunday and then go and ride in the King George on Saturday. He can do that, and Oisin can cover all bases, I would say, whether it's lower league or higher league. William can execute the perfect ride at the top level. And now we're seeing it in different countries like Charlie going to America and Japan, Hong Kong. Like, William can do what Ryan can do. I'm not saying he's achieved what Ryan has achieved, but William can execute to a very high level.
And I don't think we should underplay that, the ability as a jockey to go internationally and to ride a very straightforward, very fair race, to get the horse to achieve its optimal position, halfway across the world, and just how difficult that actually is.
Oh, massively. Like, I've ridden in some other countries and I've found it a completely different ball game. It's just the way the races run, how fast they jump at the stalls, and you never, it's always unknown when you go abroad. You don't know how you're going to kind of digest a race like an English race.
You guys would be much better placed to talk about jockey style than me, but from a slightly more objective viewpoint, I think if you're looking at all of these and you're asked, right, who looks the best on a horse?
William.
It's it seems like that's what he was born to do. There's a complete sort of natural.
We got Ian Bolden backed him to be champion jockey before he even rode.
So he has always had the gift, hasn't he? He's had the gift.
What you've got to understand is when a horse is coming backwards, you cannot push it any faster. So a lot of people say when William's coming back, he's just going through the motions, but you can't push it faster than what it can go. But when a horse is in rhythm and in top flight, there's not many better jockeys to watch than when he has that change of hands that is so recognisable and he's so smooth.
And for me, I think in the last few years, he's just found a sixth gear, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
So he's always had the gift, the ability, and he's had the jobs to go with it, and he's precocious talent, and so it looks beautiful on a horse, but then you get the smarts, don't you? You get the tactical awareness to go with it, and you get to kind of 30 and just look a completely different ball.
He's levelled up, I think, recently. he's gone for everything, champion jockey now, and he's champion apprentice. I think William's been there and done it all now. He can focus on being the best he can be.
Rather than, like, say, going for those.
Yeah, when you're
achievements
trying to
and
keep
stuff.
chasing something, sometimes your mind is only focused on certain points. But now I think he focuses on himself and how he can get better, and the rest will come.
And
Freedom.
He's a clinical pro.
Yeah.
Now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a clinical pro.
He is, yeah.
That is it. Professionalism is just the way. And Jade, you were just saying there about Ian Bolton backing him then from a very early age, and I'm guessing you're in total agreement with everything.
Yeah, I remember when he rode Tiny Tim. I think the first one that he used to ride, Ian Bolton's schoolmaster. And William was so small that he didn't think he rode till he was about 18, 19, because he was about 6.5 stone when he first started. But he had that innate talent, and he was already riding as a 7-pound claimer in Royal Ascot handicaps. He straight away made a big impact. And now, for me, he settled in so smoothly into Godolphin as their number one jockey. And him and Charlie Appleby in that team are on the same wavelength, you think. And with William, when you speak to him in a media perspective, it's always very calm, very measured. The answers he gives are very succinct, and he knows what he wants to say, and he knows what he wants to do tactically wise. He's just, like I said, the ultimate professional. And Ryan's been around that bit longer, but William now is getting experience on that world stage. He's only going to keep on improving and getting better and better.
Rossa Ryan, bottom of your list, a P. So I better start with you, Nick, then. Rossa is bottom of your list.
Well,
Louis, where do you have him? Just out of interest.
I've got him
Oh,
fourth.
interchanging there. Yeah, he's on the pivot with Hollie. But Rossa, though, with the P for you. I'm 24, though. You've got the age noted down.
Yeah, 24. He just looks he looks quite gifted, doesn't he? He looks like he should have been doing this forever. And the fact that Rafe Beckett, who is a pretty hard taskmaster and has been through a few jockeys, now has him sort of primus inter pares, really. I know Hector Crouch has a lot of rides for him, and Rob Hornby's still getting a good amount of rides, but he's sort of the de facto number one there. And again, relatively few mistakes, nice and patient, not impetuous, cool-headed, coped with losing high-profile roles, and strong enough to make his own decisions as a young man. I think he's becoming a better and better communicator. I mean, he'll be champion at some point.
I think he's such a talent. That's what I mean, to be honest, I couldn't have anyone as 5. I know this is the top 5 that we're dealing with, so we're dealing with kind of the best of the best riding about at the minute. But even with a top 5, I couldn't have anyone as 5. So I've got him interchanged with Oisin on sheer ability. And also, you just mentioned it there, Nick, the maturity he showed when he lost the Ammo Racing job, and to come back,
Stronger.
Phoenix-esque like then. And to be able to do that at that age, James, was really quite something, and to come back better than ever.
Yeah, indeed. And it is tricky when you're that young to get such a big job. And it was always going to be a job that perhaps doesn't last very long. But he took it well. And the fact is that he rode a Royal Ascot winner for Ammo Racing. Which not many people, once bridges are burnt, normally you don't ever ride again.
Yeah.
So the fact is that it ended on relatively good terms, despite it was a quite high profile public fallout as such. That's strong. He's only going to get better, and as Nick says, Rafe Beckett's team is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And at the moment, he's got 2 Group 1s to his name. Shaquille probably wasn't a ride that Rossa Ryan would think was a difference between winning and losing, because the horse just took charge. But Blue Stocking was a really good Group 1 winning ride in a Pretty Polly. And Blue Stocking, that kind of horse, that calibre of horse, is just going to bring him forward. So at the moment, I've got him as number 5 because he hasn't achieved quite what the others have done. But again, he's not had the opportunities to do that. And he could well work his way up the table in due course. But again, he's young, he's 24, and that professionalism is going to stand him in good stead. But he has got a little bit of way to go for me with the other 4.
In terms of actual achievements.
But again, I say time will tell how far he can go.
He's got all of the ability to be able to do so, hence the P then on Nick's list. But yeah, I think he's... I just feel bad that I've got Oisin there, because I actually think that early on in my kind of venture into media, into racing media, I'll never forget what Oisin did for me when I was doing a day hosting at Chester Racecourse in some of the marquees there, and I wanted to do a tour with some of the guests to go and meet a jockey, and went up to the old boys there who are in the weighing room who do the call outs for the jockeys. Just said, "Oh, will someone come out?" The only jockey to respond was Oisin Murphy. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. Came out, was fantastic with all of my guests and didn't have to do that. Didn't pay him, obviously, a penny for it. I kind of look back now, I wish I kind of just chucked him a tenner or something. But didn't pay him a penny for it, and he didn't have to do that. So he's got that down to a T, which is why I feel bad even having him as 4, but it's just because of the calibre of these 3 and what Hollie Doyle has done, obviously not just for females, but for racing as a whole and transcended it. So that's my explanation for my list. But I think we've pretty much nailed it down.
Well, we haven't really explored Oisin, have we?
No, not in much sort of
There's
depth,
a lot to
though.
explore.
There's a lot to explore.
There is a lot. Where do we even start, Nick?
Well, obviously, highly intelligent,
Very.
complex, occasionally troubled, occasionally brilliant, and much harder to pin down in terms of what's made him successful, I think, than some of the others, apart from clearly a very keen intellect. Because I haven't ridden in races, you guys, again, will be able to explain this better, and he's ridden a lot for you and with a lot of success. But to me, he can kind of make things happen sometimes, and you can't quite figure out why, but he just does.
Yeah, we're lucky that we use him a lot, and we're generally
Get your plug in now because they'll be watching this.
at the third tier
Wanna use it
meetings
more.
when his main connections haven't got runners. But you can be installed 12 at Kempton over 6, and he'll end up on the rail. He'll find those slots to give your horse the best possible chance, and we've been very lucky to use him for a long time. The horses generally run £7 better with Oisin than what they do with other jockeys. Sadly, we don't get him as much as I'd like to, but he's outstanding, whereas he'll treat a Class 6 horse, give him a fantastic ride, as he would do in the top level, which I think that's very rare.
Touch of the Fallons about him in that respect. I mean, they don't look anything like each other to watch racing, but that was a Fallon thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he would give your horse at Wolverhampton on a Tuesday as intense a ride
And
as
care
he would
about
give.
it afterwards, because you'll use a top 10 jockey. When you use them in a low grade race, if it goes wrong, the horse is no good. Whereas Oisin will come back and say, I try this, take blinkers off, put different headgear on. He really does, I say, intellect, he thinks about it. He'll know all the breeding of every horse he rides. The owners, he's absolutely brilliant at dealing with. It's just, the only criticism I'd have, he's so self-critical when he comes in. So I'm really critical of jockeys. They don't particularly like riding for me. But he's the only jockey that will come back in and say, I did something wrong and that I wouldn't have actually thought he did it wrong. But then maybe sometimes he's perhaps too self-critical on his own self, and he will always be blaming himself. But he is very, very good. And like I say, from using them on my dad's horses a lot, he very rarely makes mistakes. And if he does make a mistake, he knows he's made it.
And he would make the effort to come down and ride out as well.
Once or twice, but I wouldn't expect him to
No, but
come down
even
to deepest
that
Devon.
in itself, like say for someone who's going to be as busy as
Twice
him,
more than anyone else on this list, isn't it?
that is very true. Who else has
Eddie,
made
You
it
have
down?
managed to get any of the others down to Cullompton?
None of those. They've all ridden for us, and apart from Rossa, everyone's had a winner for us.
Oh, no wonder he's at the bottom then. No wonder he's on 5.
Ross
Yeah.
has not had many rides, only 2, and he rode one of mine that was useless, so it wasn't his fault.
The other one he gave a shocker.
It didn't go so well, but like I say, for me, Oisin,
he was awful on it. You told me he was awful on
absolutely
it.
brilliant.
You said he was shocking.
on the horse. But yes, I think Ross has got a very good future.
A very good fit. There we go. He called it right back around again there, despite calls from the audience there. And just a final word on Oisin to you then, Louis, your input on what he provides as a jockey.
I think he's take away the maybe hiccups he's had in the past. I believe everything's happened to Oisin to make him stronger and make him better. I think I actually started with Oisin and I remember he was just different. Like we all recognised it as apprentices that Oisin had something that we all didn't have.
Just think, he could be here now, sitting where you are,
He could be, yeah.
writing Louis
I could be on
Stewart
his
in at number 3.
I could be on his retainer.
Yes.
And riding plenty wins. Anyway, Oisin is just his mind never stops. He never rests. He's a great operator, like James mentions. Whether you're a trainer with 30 horses or 150, he'll give you the same input as he does with both sides of the spectrum. His racecraft is key. I think as a jockey, when he came back from Australia for the first time, I noticed a big difference. He was making the run at Kempton, I swear, every Wednesday night. No one could catch him. And that was just like the time in his head that was perfect. But he takes so much in, and it shows in his riding. He can do everything every day of the week. Like I say, it doesn't matter the occasion, he can do it. And now he's over his little road bumps. I think he's just a stronger person and a better jockey.
And just from what you have said, and also James has said there as well, about the fact that he is so intense and the fact he does think about everything, is that a positive, or is that more to his detriment, do you think? Or is it a fine line between the two?
It can work both ways. Sometimes you can overread a race and then not really understand what situation you've put yourself in, but I don't think he's that stupid. I think he also has a lot of plans A, B, C and D in his head where he can revert back to a different situation. But he's very just switched on when it comes to that. Form is exceptional. He reads form so well. I don't know if you recognise that, James.
Yeah, like he'll ask Centre Text, oh, what's the plan today?
He'll know everything.
And yeah, you don't really need, there's only something specific about the horse that's not ridden before.
Yeah.
And straight away I get a voicemail, a voice note or whatever after the race. It's always very concise, and there'll always be something that he wants to do different next time. Yeah. Which, like I say, I'm critical, and he always finds extra things to be critical about. So he really does look so in depth as to why he wants to be the best.
And cares about every single ride that he has therefore as well, evidently, which counts for an awful lot. But Oisin, though, 3 on your board, 2 on yours, 4 on yours, and I've got him as joint 4 then on mine. So he's the one who's divided opinions somewhat. I mean, it would be fitting though, isn't it, of his character, that he should be up and down then differently on our boards. But general consensus, Brian Moore. Well, very much so then, heading the way for all of us. And then it's a bit of a muddle for those in behind, and exactly what we're looking for to be putting onto the list and why we're ranking them all differently. Well, that was us ranking at the top 5 modern day jockeys. Again, do let us know if we've got it right. Let us know in the comment section below. Hopefully you have enjoyed this episode. Big thank you to the lads for all of their hard work, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Well, thank you so much again for watching Inside Track, the debate brought to you by William Hill. And if you'd like to go back and watch our previous episode where we rank the top 5 sprinters of all time, click the link in the video. 18+, please remember to gamble responsibly.